Oh my gosh, Julia.
I hope that everybody else was grooving to my brother's music just now, because I want to say that
were we all dancing? I think we were all dancing.
We're all dancing because my brother's grooving it out.
It's the best. Well, howdy there, disco citizens. I'm Teri Gamble.
And I am Julia Marchese.
Welcome to Horror X, a collaboration between the George A. Romero Foundation and our podcast, Horror Movie Survival Guide.
And Horror X explores the femmes who make fright films fantastigorical and palavers with them about their experiences in film and horror. We are so excited to get a solo interview with this guest today. Teri, who are we talking to?
Oh my gosh, we are talking to the incredible Toby Poser. They are film and theater actor, writer, director, producer, and voiceover artist. She was born in Huntington, PA, and lives in both New York and California with her creative partner and wonderful husband, John Adams, and their daughters, Lulu and Zelda Adams. The four of them make independent films under the marquee Wonder Wheel Productions.
And we first fell in love with the Adams family after Patton Oswalt recommended The Deeper You Dig to us, and the family we think are some of the most exciting, inspiring filmmakers working today, and also the kindest. So we have championed every movie they have done since, and we are cheering them on always.
Always, please welcome to Horror X, the incredible Toby Poser. Thank you.
Yay!
Oh man, I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, like we are that's all I got. That's all I got right already. Just like no words. You're so cool. Just the coolest.
Coolest. And let me reiterate, yeah, your brother's Sonics. I'm still grooving to that. That's a good intro to anything.
Excellent. My brother's name is Peter. He is a fantastic musician. He has done the music for both of my films, and he plays every instrument himself. He is out of sight dynamite.
Yeah.
Yep. He's great. His score in your Dollar Baby short was great.
Thank you. So we first talked to you with John and Zelda for Hellbender. We interviewed you for Horror Movie Survival Guide, but we have never had a chance to talk to you 2-on-1. So this is going to be new and exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yay! So we want to know, I guess we start with all of our guests, and we're entering to a whole new audience here today with our George Romero Foundation crew. We'd love to know where you fell in love, I guess, with acting or with horror. You can do a little bit of both if they coincide in film.
All of it.
Yeah.
The acting thing was probably when I was 10. I was in the Velveteen Rabbit.
Oh.
And, I mean, you guys probably have your moments as well. I know where you just know you were injected with the bug. Yeah. And, I just remember knowing everyone's lines, peeking back from backstage, wishing I was on there, mouthing everything. And I had this big pillow for a big bust, little bit. And then one day I would have my own. And that's when it started. Then I just went to school and decided I would study it. And then it took, I think acting and a love for horror kind of collided again when I was about 40. I was living out in Los Angeles, and my acting career had just kind of slowly was going. And we decided to make a movie to take the kids who were 6 and 11 at the time out on the road for a year, homeschool them, and try our hand at making a movie instead of waiting for permission for others to do what we wanted to do. I especially needed to do. That first film was meant to be a genre film. It was a really brutal, dark Western. We weren't quite ready to shoot it. We had started to, and we realized we were having too much fun and loving life too much at the time to kind of kill our kids. But that collision happened about 15 years ago. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that you took that into your own hands. I keep telling my friends right now, as people are hemming and hawing about the industry and the lull and whatever, I was like, this is the time. This is, where you take it in your own hands. It's the 90s all over again. We're making independent cinema and they will come back again because people are going to want original stories. They're not going to want the 10th version, of whatever again. I think, yeah, it's our
And
time.
I think that what makes your films so great is that they are undiluted. They are they are the Addams Family, in film form. And that's what I love about independent cinema is like, okay, John Waters is only John Waters. Like nobody's in there trying to tell him what to do. And I feel like that makes such a big difference.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been it feels really special that we've been able to to weave together our lives and our creative lives. It's kind of a really wonderful gift, and I'm glad that we grabbed it. Because when you're making cool shit together while you're living together, you make great memories and you make something that lasts forever, hopefully.
Yeah.
On screen. It's like a living snapshot, a photo album.
Yeah, you get to watch you grow up and your children grow up, through this, which is so fantastic. And there's just you guys are so inspiring because it's like the coolest family on the planet. So, how does it feel to be part of the coolest family?
But it's definitely a goal to get you guys in our clutches.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen, and I'm really going to look forward to that.
Excellent. And get the bloodier, the dirtier you can get us. Like that's the kind of ladies, the people that we are, the folks that we are.
That is the goal. We've been doing a lot of work this summer, getting bloody, getting prepared mentally and physically. So we're really excited. I want to go back though and talk a little bit more about your stage work. Julia and I are both big theater buffs, and that's actually how we met was, doing our year abroad studying theater together in England. And we're big Shakespeare nerds. And so we love any time that seems incorporated. And I think someone was giving me unsolicited. They were like, oh my God, they saw it come with us to see Hellhole. And they were like, you told me it's like the family does the thing, but you told me they're all good at acting, but she's amazing. I was like talking specifically about you. And I was like, that's because she got the bones and she got that background and the most amazing stuff like Shakespeare. Can you tell us a little bit about playing some of those iconic roles like Lady Macbeth and Rosalind, Ophelia, Puck, and different things for Shakespeare?
Teri, I've been waiting for someone to want to talk about theater.
Yay!
This is one of those moments it's good to fly solo because especially John loves to make fun of theater. He loves to make fun of actors in general. He has a hard time admitting that he actually is one, and he's really good.
He's good. Very good. And it's annoying that he's good and he hates the theater. Oh no.
He does. But okay, so let me just say that the 2 times I homeschooled our kids, I had to keep going back to the Scottish play. I guess I'm not in the theater. I can say, Macbeth, but I have some fun, superstitious stories about that. That play.
This is it. This is the time. This is the place. Tell these stories, please, Scott.
But yeah, I love that place so much, and I figured my kids would love it. Again, I mean, going back, just let's pick one of the bloodiest, darkest, witchiest. And so both times, so if there's one Shakespearean play my kids are familiar with, it's that. I kept revisiting it in their curriculum. But my story is how there's the suspicion that the superstition that you can't say the word Macbeth and name Macbeth in a theater. Sure. So one day I just decided I'm going to say it. And I had, this was my first professional gig. And that night, everything went wrong. The gun I had wouldn't go off. I had to kill someone with it. So instead I went up and I did that kind of Spock thing on the shoulder to try to kill him. Everything went wrong. And everyone, condemned me and I deserved it.
Okay. All right. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
I have never tempted that fate. And I'm glad to hear, hey, don't do it. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to do it. That's incredible.
And
wow.
is Macbeth your favorite of all of the? I'm a Hamlet girl myself.
Those 2 are my favorites. They really, really are. I guess maybe I'll just say Macbeth the most, just because I've been in both plays. I loved playing Lady Macbeth. It was a career highlight, and a theater highlight. I played both Gertrude and Ophelia. I preferred playing Gertrude.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's Gertrude and Ophelia and Puck and Rosalind. Like, all of those roles are all over the place, just in terms of character background and the strength and what they're going for. And like, so Gertrude, because Gertrude has more. What did you prefer about that?
Yeah, I think she has more weight. I mean, she's got a lot to work with. I think Ophelia is a challenge, not to just make her the ubiquitous la 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 la, which is really not me. I'm not much of a la 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 la.
Really?
Oh, I mean, I have my own lalas. I can be like a spacey lala, but I don't think I'm like a little ingenue, that a lot of Ophelias fall into. So the challenge is to make her compelling, I think, in a different way. I remember the director wanted me to go, instead of topless, he wanted me to go bottomless. He's like, I think she should just, when she's mad, she should run around without any underwear. And it was a really high stage. And I remember making a very important decision to say, no, I'm not going to walk around. I'm not ready to do that at 20.
Not till later. Not till later in life. And you're making a movie and no, that's wild.
So you started out in theater, and talk about your transition from theater into film and what you like best about both medium.
I love the living, just everything, the livingness of live theater, right? Don't you just love that feeling of coming on and anything can happen? And in fact, the most wonderful moments do happen when shit goes wrong. I mean, in a sense, you just have to be so in the moment. It's kind of the essence of what acting, I think, really, really is. I love the collaboration. I love the listening and the react. Not that you can't do that in film, but there's something just about being in a moment that is going to be wiped clear, at the end of the night. That's exciting, and it's fucking hard work. But I love that. I love watching it, and I love being in it, and I hope to go back into theater. And then for film, I love the intimacy of film. Of course, you can go back and do something again if you're lucky. I mean, the way we work, we go back often and reshoot things.
How many takes would you say that you do generally?
Even if we get it right on the first take, we at least do 2 more, I would say. Yeah. But sometimes we have to go back, and often it's me. Often I think I don't nail it and everyone else does. I think it takes me a while to sink into the characters, because in the beginning, I'm thinking as a writer and co-director. It can take a while for me to sink into the character and find her, because I'm thinking of everything else. So I'd say 2 to 3 takes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
And more. is it difficult for you to switch roles mentally like that?
Sometimes it is. Like the more we're into the film, the more I just know that character so well. Like in Hellhole, because I was so involved with the writing and then the rewriting to be shot in Serbia, I knew the character so well that I could just go in there and really not act at all. I was just like, I'm just gonna play her, and then I could really think about everyone else. But tomorrow, for instance, we have a huge shoot tomorrow. That's a bunch of flashbacks in the current film we're shooting called Mother of Flies, and I'm actually acting in those scenes, and that will take a lot of mental bandwidth, because all week I've been sewing and dyeing and making these costumes and hoping everything's going to go right, and it's probably going to rain, and we're outside, and there are fires, and there's blood, and there's death, and to have to act through that, and then make sure the other actors are kind of getting what John and I both kind of want. It will be a real challenge.
That's a lot of elements, like literal elements. You're like earth, wind, and fire, everything, and die. That's a lot.
And like a pagan C-section.
Yes. Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't think I'd hear that phrase this morning.
Oh my God!
A new punk rock band, Pagan C-section.
Wait till you see our wand in this film. It's like a thorn. It's like this big, like thorn, multi-pronged thorn. I can't wait for everyone to see the wand. I just gave it away, but.
Oh my gosh!
No, we also cannot wait to see this wand. The coven needs to know. You're correct. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so can you tell us a little bit more? We're going to keep jumping back and forth, I guess, flashbacks, as you said, in life too. You have did this stint. I know we got to talk a little bit about it on our podcast with you, but we'd love to talk a little guiding light. You were a guiding lighter. I still am fascinated by this section. And by you just telling us, though, that you've done all these different things and you've played all these different other characters, I feel like there's a reason, rhyme and reason to everything you're doing. But soap, what's the distinct challenge with soap?
Whole different ball of wax.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's kind of an anomaly, right? Have you guys been involved in soaps?
I have done like background work and stuff, but I know about how quick they work, how, you're getting pages every day and there's just dialogue. Like the memorization skills are out of control from what I understand.
It's true. Yeah. It's great for the machine. After that, I was like, oh, I can learn shit on a dime.
Did it take, how did it, what did that, I mean, you'd already been playing Shakespearean roles with, oodles of dialogue. So I feel like that had, but was there a switch kind of from going, from doing, huge long monologues to just kind of some small scenes in the soap?
I think, I don't think there is that big a difference. I mean, for me, what was cool about the soap was I kind of it was such a lark. I never expected to be cast in something like that. And the woman who was casting, her name was Betty Ray, and she was kind of like this like movie star. She was quite old. I got to know her in maybe her last year that she was casting. She'd been around forever. And it was kind of like as if Norma Desmond had become a casting.
That sounds amazing.
She sounds incredible.
A casting director. And she just liked, and I don't mean to sound condescending, but she loved actors. She liked people who came from the theater and didn't think that there had to be a separation between those who have that experience and those in the soaps. Mm-hmm. And so she would bring me in. I'd never be right. And like one time I just done a film in Russia, and I came back and I didn't even audition. All we did was talk about my Russian lover, and and she just was so much fun. And then she brought me in for this role for Amanda, just because she was risky. And Amanda the character called for a model with legs that went on for miles. Neither of these describe me. Super glamorous. She was an ex-Malibu madam. And so I just went in and had fun, so much fun that she showed the executive director, who happened to love the executive at the time, Michael Lapson, loved theater actors. And he had just seen me, I think, in I was in this really cool Mike Lee play called Ecstasy off Broadway.
Ooh.
It had a really amazing cast. It was such a cool play. And so he was like, yeah, let me see her. And we hit it off. And then I got the screen test. Just was luck that they just ended up rewriting the role for someone like me. And so because I had nothing really to lose, every day I would go in, I would just kind of have fun and make this character what I thought she should be. And I lasted about 3 years. Because I had nothing to lose. I was just lucky to be there.
That's incredible. That's like the way to do it. Because I think sometimes we get so intimidated or so worried about not fitting a thing that you're like, make them make it fit you is what I just heard in that. And I freaking love that.
And she was fun. She was a bad girl, which is,
so much more fun than a good girl. I mean, we all know that.
That's so right.
Hey, beep beep.
So can we talk about your first movie role, which was The Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls in Love? How did that come about?
Oh man, the director, I had been doing, when you moved to New York City, and you're a young actor, you just want to try to get into all kinds of short films for no pay, just for the experience. Same with theater. And so I would audition for lots of NYU films. And there was an NYU grad film I auditioned for, and I ended up having I still have a wonderful relationship with this director. And it was through her that I kind of got into The Incredibly True Adventure of Two Girls in Love with Maria Magenti, who's a great writer and director, and that whole LGBT scene. It was, that was such a gift. Oh my God, I love that film. And it was iconic. I mean, at the time, it was like before like Go Fish and other like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was groundbreaking. I remember it. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It
Look at
really
us.
is. So it was such a pleasure in 1994 to be shooting that. Yeah. And then have it play for 4 months at the Angelica.
I mean, the Angelica, though. I mean, what is it like to go and watch your face at the Angelica? Because that's amazing.
It's just fun. It's really cool.
You have the honor of having guest starred on all three primary shows of the Law and Order franchise. We got Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and Special Victims Unit. So that's like, 3 for
I mean,
3.
that's the iconic one.
Yeah, those were cool. And I mean, Criminal Intent was cool because I got to work with the stunt people.
Oh yeah,
because I was hanging, and that was really neat. That was really fun. And I've at 55, which I am right now, it's harder to do that shit. Like in Mother of Flies, I've been doing a lot of physical stuff that it's really hard on my body. Like tomorrow, I keep saying to John, no, I can be thrown to the ground and like dragged to the pit. And he's like, no, Toby, I already cracked a rib shooting this film. I don't even know how to explain it. By pushing myself suspended through the ceiling from a big death vagina.
Sorry, Death Vagina. I am here for that. Oh my God, incredible. But it is harder to recover. I feel that. As the years march on, recovery is different. Yeah. That's incredible. Wow. For your art though. For your art.
I know. This is how to do it. You got to work recently with one of my favorite directors, Mr. Mike Flanagan, on Fall of the House Usher. Gotta know all the stories, all the things.
Oh, man, is Mike not the most wonderful? Like I'm like a broken record, but I always say if there was a picture next to the word mensch in a dictionary, it would be Mike, because he is like the ultimate like mensch. He's so supportive of indie filmmakers. He's so fucking generous. He's so kind, and he's wicked smart and talented, obviously. But the fact that he invited me to be part of that, to fly out to Vancouver and do that, I mean, what? He didn't have to do that.
How did he contact you? How did you find out about it? What did he say?
We've just been in touch over the past couple of years because, as I say, he's just super supportive. And he just called one day.
Oh my gosh, I would lose my mind.
And I think the next day I was on a plane. Yeah.
Wow.
Next day or 2 days, something like that. Maybe 2 days later. Yeah, it was so cool. He didn't direct that episode. He was there, and that show is so snappy and wicked. I absolutely love that show.
Obsessed with that show. I need to rewatch it again. I feel like this would be the time of year right now. I feel like this would be a good time to rewatch right now too. Little spooky marathon. It's so good. Seeing the amazing like Mark Hamill like as well, like I think it's the best acting he's ever done as well. Like just what a great series.
Oh, and as a Stephen King nerd, Mike Flanagan and his Stephen King stuff is like the ultimate, is what every Stephen King fan wants, because he gets it, and like, but he also gets just horror and film and
Poe.
Yeah. He's such a neat person. I can't wait to see everything he does, and I'm sure he's going to keep, stretching his creative muscles. I'm so grateful for that experience.
So you also have a fucking rad band with your family, Hellbender. We got to talk about that because, man, out of sight.
Yeah, John had sort of iterations of bands with the girls since they were really little. I mean, really little, and through the years. And finally, I was like, I need to be in on this game. And so Hellbender came to be, and we have a lot of fun. I mean, the house is always filled with music, which is something I love. And it's not just John who's always playing and writing music, but Zelda's always kind of singing, and Lulu's always kind of dancing around. I mean, there's a lot of music in our house. It's like a big device for joy. And it's one of the things I miss about the girls being away doing their thing, because it's so quiet in the house, which is nice too. But I miss that
Yeah,
music.
you're empty nesters now, basically, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So music is just it's just a huge part of what we do, and it's really fun. And sometimes one leads to a movie, like Hellbender, the band.
Yeah.
A certain song led to Hellbender, the movie, and sometimes a movie will warrant a song. It's super symbiotic, and it's cool. There's some cool music that's going to be in Mother of Flies coming out, but different, not performative. Whereas Hellbender and Where the Devil Roams, there, it was an integral part of the performance within the movie. This will be more organic.
Well, and Hellhole as well, the soundtrack we absolutely loved. I mean, he did such a great job. Everything, we love how heavy everything goes, so heavy into it.
It's fun. John really kind of choreographs. He edits to his music, which I think makes whatever he edits unique. It's cool.
That's why it feels so good. I think there's something to that, because as soon as we wanted to go, like it was like, oh yeah, we're screaming along, and now we have like the heaviest metal to like go with it, and it was just a great moment in the theater. Hilarious. So
thank you both for supporting that film and going to both of those. That's so cool.
We would go, like, the more screenings there are, the more we would go. We would just keep going, because
what a juxtaposition of places, though, too. It's hilarious. We were literally in the back of a witch shop, like an apothecary shop, just the first time, and then we were at Soho House in West Hollywood. Wildly different, but wildly wonderful.
So cool.
So let's rewind to the beginning of your horror journey as a child. So what are the horror movies you can remember watching and scaring you when you were small? Like, what are the first ones?
There was something called Creature Double Feature, where I grew up on Sundays, and I'd get like a big spoonful of peanut butter. I wasn't allowed to watch them, so I would put it really low, and I'd kind of crawl up near to the screen and lie on my stomach, and I'd just kind of suck on this peanut butter lollipop until the movie was over. And sometimes both of them. And there was one called I think it was called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant, or it's just The Two-Headed Transplant. And it was creepy as hell. It was basically this kind of sort of very nice little docile, big kind of guy. And then there's this like convict, and the convict's head gets put on the big, like, innocent sort of adult's body. And so that kind of mixture of the two I found terrifying. That someone evil could be attached to someone who was so innocent, and the evil person making him do things. So that was kind of I think the first horrific thing I had ever seen, and I loved it. And so I would keep trying to watch these Creature Double Features. And then when I was, I think, 14, I went to New Jersey, and my friend's mom was really loose, had no rules, and she let us go see Sleepaway Camp. And that was fun.
Transformative. And also Where the Devil Roams, we got the there it is.
The bookend. It's the bookend, right?
Yeah. So those were my intros. But I think in many ways I'm kind of a late bloomer. It's not like I didn't grow up like with a background like yours, Julia, with just like tons of I know I loved movies, I loved genre film, but I wasn't like, now I read Fangoria and Rue Morgue, and I read, I love reading about horror, but I think I was a really late bloomer just to kind of come to the game, especially from an academic angle. If I could go back to school, I would just love to study cinema, and particularly genre cinema. So you're never too old to start digging shit.
Yeah, and the thing about film, you're never going to run out. There's an endless supply. Like, you cannot watch all the movies ever made, and that's kind of the joy of it. Is you can dig deep in any direction you want, and you're going to find treasures.
The deeper you dig, the more treasures you're going to find.
See what you did there.
I got to shout it out. That's my comfort movie. I put that on a lot.
That one's very special to me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's special to me too. It's something y'all nailed it with that. I always just think about you looking into that box, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, this movie just went someplace else. Like, I every time. So out of the box, and now I can't wait to see the vagina from which you emerge next. So this is going to be very exciting. Box to box. So who are some of your favorite people that you've gotten to create with and collaborate? Obviously your family, but anyone else along the way that you've been excited to work with over the years?
You know, it's been really great to get to know Emily Bennett and Justin Brooks. They had the film a couple years ago, Alone with You, and they have one. I'm not going to say the title because I think it might have changed, but I'm really excited about that film coming out. And I got to play her mother in a short called The Thaw last year, and so I'm really excited about what they have going. And I think she's a neat woman. She's kind of like you, that she's a Renaissance woman who wears many hats. And so I'm excited to work with her again, and also just to be a fan. You know, it's cool. There's been this at the festivals in the past couple of years, there have been great efforts for women and non-binary filmmakers to kind of meet and get together, and that has been really invigorating because it's fun to see. I don't know. It's just cool. It's cool. Like I was on this cool panel at Fantasia with a bunch of women that Heidi Honeycutt put together in honor of celluloid. And there's so many other women there who were also not only directing, but had books that they had written. And oh my God. So I'm really excited about the scene for women. And I'm also I have to mention there's a writer and critic and academic I love, Alexandra Heller Nicholas, who I just adore everything that comes out of that brain of hers. And she has this book coming out called The Witch Coven.
Ooh.
No, sorry, the Cinema Coven, which is witchcraft, and I'm forgetting the last part of it. And women
Hellbender on the cover or something.
Yes.
Is that the one? That looks so cool.
Yeah. That book is going to be amazing, and we felt so honored that she invited us to be a tiny stitch in that fabric of awesomeness.
Yeah, we talk about a lot about how we feel like horror film fans and makers are the most kind and supportive group that we have met in the industry, and then you get into women and non-binary, and I feel like that even more so. Like there's this kind of supportive and holding and everybody wanting to help everybody else out that is right now happening, and I haven't seen it like it. I think it's really incredible.
It is so incredible. And people guess that you've had, like Brea Grant, and I mean, I've yet to meet her, but it's just there are so many cool people out there doing cool things, and when you can all kind of collide, it's just you make magical shit happen. It's beautiful, and you guys are responsible for a lot of that because you honor so many people. You celebrate film, and you celebrate those who make them. And all genders, all types, but you have a lot to do with casting a light on all the people who work hard to make cool shit, and so we should be thanking you.
Look at that, actual tears, Toby.
Oh, hand to heart, hand to heart, hand to heart. Yeah,
Thank you. But I hope you get told that a lot.
It's because we genuinely, it brings us so much joy to get together and champion cinema and things that we think should have a light on them. That's literally like the mission. So she got it, Julia. She got the mission.
I learned so much. I learned so much. I really have to catch up on a lot these days because we're making kind of shoot things right now. So I'm so busy that I don't have time to watch and listen as much as I normally do. But you guys are wonderful. You're great at interviewing. You ask wonderful questions. I learned so much from podcasts, and I can't wait to go back and catch some of your Horror X, your latest.
Oh, they've been great. They've had some great conversations. We just got to talk with Jill. I'm going to butcher her last name, Gavarjin, Jill 6. Right. Incredible. Like, just, I don't know. I love the varied backgrounds we all have coming to it. And you talking about coming to it later, like as far as like, working in the genre and all that. I love, gives me all hope because I came to it later too. So I just,
It was my fault. I corrupted her.
I love it.
You're the best. I know. And now I'm like, whatever. I'm so hard now. It's like,
You
it's
are.
really funny.
I was like, we just recently did on Horror Movie Survivor Guide, we covered Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and that movie goes fucking hard. And Terry's like, she was so unfazed by it. And I was like, dude, you're intense. She's going. She's watching Martyrs, and she's like, I'm like, man.
Damn.
Well, I don't know, different perspective now too. And then just like, the world is strange now too, stranger. It's always was strange, but just, seeing the juxtaposition, how horror can really shine a light on so many amazing issues in the best possible way. I think we're always on the vanguard. And I'm just really jazzed by that. Like I keep going back to Hellhole right now, because it's at the top of my mind too, since we just saw it not too long ago from you. And just the conversation in our country right now about birth and about, everything, the way you all tackle that topic in such a I was like, I see what you're doing there. The dipping in of the drill extracting, all of it, like just the imagery you had in that film, it still lives with me. And I think about it a lot. So I'm just grateful.
I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah. If you're going to make, sometimes it's fun to make a film just for the fun of it. But if you can inject it with a little social commentary that's important to you as the person making the film, that's my prerogative.
And you did it so well, so beautiful. I mean, we are, as you know, in love with George Romero, and he was the master of that, right? Of this movie is about zombies, but not really about zombies, right? It's really about consumerism, or racism, or anything,
Yeah. Or what about, I love the amusement park.
Oh my God, the amusement park
is phenomenal.
That movie rocked our cores. So I think also you talking about, I think that moment in Hollywood where you hit 40 as well, between the amusement park and Season of the Witch by George Romero, dealing with age and ageism is massive. And I love that. I feel like you are tackling that as well.
I can't think of any movie that goes as hard about ageism than the amusement park. That's the one I was like, oh, damn. Why do we not have movies that are talking about this? Because it's still happening. It's still true.
Yeah. And in such a creative way. I mean, that's just what's so cool that you can do in genre film. You can kind of just subvert, and you can just tinker with the norm of how you want to express anything. But I agree. I'm really interested as I get older, especially in exploring aging. It's one, and not necessarily with myself. I don't think I always have to cast myself in these roles. I'm looking forward to exploring that with other actors. It's often just about convenience. Here I am, and I have something to say, and I need something to do. But I really want to continue exploring that as we get older. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
So what is something about the industry that people may not know if they're not a part of it?
That's a really cool question. Well, I think this ties into something you said earlier in terms of genre film. If you're making a horror film, let's say, you're going to be welcomed with much more open arms than you are when you're making a drama, I think, or even like a comedy. I hate to throw generalizations out like that, but I think there's just a wonderful family out there that wants to see your films. I mean, there are fans of horror who are really hungry. I also think people often believe that they need a lot of money and bells and whistles, and we do not think you need that. Those are fine if you've got them and you're going to use them well, I hope, because that's a lot of money. But you just don't need them. I think if people really focus on creating a story, telling the story they want to tell in the most honest way they can tell it. And that doesn't mean you can't be honest if you're making a farce or a sci-fi farce. There's an honesty just to your characters have to believe what they're doing, what they're saying. The story has to have some kind of heart, whether it's dark or light, or preferably both. And so I just feel like people often think they need more because perhaps they're trying to make someone else's film. They think if someone else did it, maybe they have to do that too. But no, it's like, I want to see people's authentic voices. I don't want to see them making someone else's film. I already saw that film. So I think people I think the industry is interested in originality.
Yeah, the movies that I like best are the movies where I feel like I'm looking inside somebody's head. Like we were talking about like Houseu, the Japanese film. I'm like, there's no other man in the entire world who could have made that movie, because that movie's so specific and so strange. And like, that's what I love. The kind of films I love are like, I'm looking inside that filmmaker's head and I'm seeing what they see, and that's beautiful.
Getting a very distinct point of view, and that's what we're hungry for. I think we're, people are talking about like Marvel fatigue and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, people are tired of certain tropes and things like that, but I want to see someone's fresh visions.
Have you seen Exuma?
No, you're the second person to tell me. So I'm going to put it on my little.
It's really cool. And what about The Devil's Bath?
No,
that's also someone.
The pair that made, I think, aunt, nephew that made The Lodge and Goodnight Mommy. And I think they went in a really neat direction. It's on Shudder, The Devil's Bath. Those were two of my favorite folk horrors from this summer, and I thought both were really original. But the thing about The Devil's Bath was the horror is so human. Like, I love horror that is just incredibly human. I mean, I like it if it's not too. That's really fun. But I love being terrified by just human horrors, and we come with plenty of them, including the fact that we're all going to die.
Yep.
And we know love, and when you have love, death is even more fearsome.
Yeah, it's the tragedy. It feels like you feel the tragedy so acutely. Yeah.
But like Wes Craven says, like, horror films are about releasing your fear safely, right? Something like you're going in, you're not, and you're it's a catharsis, and I think that's part of what we love about it, right? Is something that like, and as you know, watching movies in a movie theater with an audience, like watching a horror film, watching Hellhole at that Witch's Apothecary shop with a bunch of horror nerds in the back, all freaking out and screaming when everything was happening. That's what I live for. The noise of joyous disgust. Everybody, oh, like that noise gives me such life. I can't even tell you. It makes me so happy.
Oh man, that's so cool. That's really cool.
So is there anything about your career that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
No, I don't think I would do anything differently. I mean, obviously there are lessons learned, but everything got me to where I am now, and I can't complain. I get to make movies with very little money. I mean, and then there was Hellhole, which we did not produce and had a budget, 50 times the size of ours, a crew 50 times the size of our crew.
Can you talk about what that was like?
Oh, it was wild. I mean, at first I was a little overwhelmed. It's not that I hadn't been on sets. I've been as an actor on sets, but directing, I was just like, oh, I get to sit here or stand here with this monitor, and from over there I can see what's going on. And even that was just so alien to me. And we're used to wearing so many hats. I think it was really hard for us to kind of let go of them. But eventually, there's something beautiful, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. When you just put your trust into people who are talented, who are really talented, and they're here to help you create this vision. It's not like just us; it's all of us. And so it was wild. It was so educational. I think I'll be better at it than next time. We also directed, we were just directors for hire for this short, Plastic Smile, that's going to be in an anthology on Screambox called Tales from the Void. That's really cool.
Ooh.
And it's a beautiful short, and they're all really, really cool. Tales from the Void. And so we were just hired to direct. We hadn't written it. That was a first for us. And that too, I felt like, okay, I took what I learned from Hellhole. I brought it to this. I think there's always going to be room to collaborate and do bigger productions. And I think I'll get better at it. I think I need to get better at it. I'm used to our dynamic, and I have a lot to learn still about just what it's like playing in the sandbox with others. And I want
So,
to.
and you weren't originally planning to shoot in Serbia, right?
No, we were going to shoot in America. It took place in Canada, how it was originally written. And when we learned we were going to shoot in Serbia, we were like, sure, let's go on this adventure. And so we had to adapt the film for Serbia, which I think really served it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I think I was there briefly last year, and I thought it was an amazing country. And the thing that I was in Belgrade, and the thing that I was so amazed with is how many bookstores there were. It was just like everywhere, and I was like, oh, this is the kind of I can get into this place. Like, this is what I'm talking about.
What were you doing there, Julia?
I was on a cruise with my family through Eastern Europe, and so I only got to be there briefly, but I was like, oh, it's really nice. I really liked it.
Her family goes on the most amazing adventurous vacations I've ever heard. Toby, like, y'all go on, like, they'll be like, we're gonna go to the Amazon for like a month. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, they'll just do stuff like that. So Julia's had the most like fun, adventurous life with her incredible parents and her dad, who started the NPR station in Las Vegas. Like, so he, they were like, yeah, we're gonna be, in New Zealand, so we're gonna go meet the Weta guys. Like, it's like they'll just.
Oh yeah, my parents just walked into the Weta workshop. We're like, hey, can we have a tour to Richard Taylor? And he's like, sure. I was like, what? You can't just do that.
Yes, they can.
They can. Yeah,
fearless and fabulous. Yeah.
So can we talk about? We talked about the Two-Headed Transplant was a movie that scared you very much when you were a kid. But when we talk about you now, what is the scariest movie that you can think of?
Well, The Innocents, the one from a couple of years ago, the Norwegian film, to me is pretty terrifying. Mm-hmm. I really love that film, and it's terrifying because it's not. I mean, there are horrible things that happen to animals and to people, but that kind of horror when you're dealing with kids who essentially are innocent but do some horrible things, for me, is fucking horrifying. And they do a great job of showing a backstory about the one kid, the boy. Have you guys seen the film, The Innocents?
Not the new. I've seen the older one, the Deborah Carr one.
Yeah. Well, it's. I won't go on too much about it, but it's. I find that film really, really, really terrifying. And it has nothing to do with lots of bloody gore and effects. It's all super emotional, and what these kids are basically learning, they have certain powers and how they use them against each other, and when they can't trust their parents because for various reasons. It's terrifying. That's one film that and then I well, I could go on and on, but
please, Teri's writing down every one of these movie recommendations because we have a list for Horror Movie Survival Guide. Look, so I mean, please.
That is correct.
Take it. We'll take them.
I am taking notes, so we're taking it all in. Of course, we want to know your influences and what jazzes you. Is there a film that you would recommend to someone who's like never seen a horror movie before? Yeah,
I feel like start off.
Like if you're like, hey, start here. If you like it, keep going.
How about the Babadook? I think the Babadook is a good one because it's frightening, but there's a world of metaphor going on in that film.
Layers.
And so I think that film is absolutely brilliant. That too is to me a very human horror. And we all know grief. Is a really difficult kid. The ambivalence of motherhood is something that fascinates me. She should play like Nora from A Doll's House, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
So I would say that film.
Okay.
Can you guys tell me one real fast that lately that comes to mind for you that I can put on my list as well? That is just.
Well, I'm sure you've seen The Ritual. Session 9, also fantastic. That one of the scariest asylum movie I think there is, where you just film at an asylum but you don't set dressed at all and it's just destroyed and you're just like, oh my God.
I need to rewatch that one. Yeah. Good ones.
But if Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror movie of all time. So if people want to watch a horror movie, that's where we start, and that's how a horror movie survival guides got started. Because when I was in college, my best friend Marion had never seen a horror movie, and I was like, "Let's try a Nightmare on Elm Street, and if you like it, we can keep going, and if not, we don't have to watch anything else." And she loved it. And the thing that she loved was Nancy, and this feeling of this final girl who was like, "I'm into survival. I'm going to fix it myself. I can do this." And so she's like, "Oh, is this a thing in horror movies?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a whole trope with the final girl." And like, so we decided to watch every horror movie in the horror movie section of our local video store our senior year of college, because we felt like the more horror movies we saw, the better chance we had to survive. And so we kept a notebook, and we, had a rating system and all this stuff. And then fast forward to 2017, and Teri was working for a company that was looking for horror podcasts. And she's like, "Hey, I got some girls for you." And so it turned into the podcast. And then Marion stepped down, Teri stepped in as host, and here we are in 2024. So it all stems from a Nightmare on Elm Street for me.
Yeah.
That's super cool. It reminds me too. I had a vision too of your short. I know what you need in the library. All those the scenes in the library. I could just see you like on a warpath.
Yeah, there's I can do film plus academic stuff makes me very happy, and this is kind of what it's continued into. Like, I'm watching movies, I'm taking notes, we're talking about the film academically.
We love the research moments in any film when they're like, "Oh, we have to go research the thing." We're like, "Oh, research montage, give it to us. Show us your stacks."
Where's the microfiche? We need
microfiche. It's so funny. I think I was like, "What do I recommend to you?" Because I literally am always recommending your movies. Like most of the 90% of the time, if someone's like, "What's new that you like?" I'm like, "Hey, do you know these people? Check out, start here, start at the deeper you dig, and then go on, and then watch the rest." So that's really funny. I'm just like, what can I recommend to you? Recently, we covered something that I think was really great in the LGBTQ sphere. And since October's got National Coming Out Day, the Jessica Cabin. Someone's Always Watching was our name of our episode for that one, but the Jessica Cabin, it's a really great film. It's a rom-com, but dark and ghost story.
And it's a movie that's set in one location, which is my favorite movie. It's just kind of movie. It's just people talking in rooms kind of deal, but it feels like it doesn't feel restrictive. It feels like they have this cabin. They did the most they possibly could with it, and it's a good rec.
Yeah, great. I feel like you would jive. It's got the beautiful pathos and heartbreak of loss that we were just talking about too. So I love that. And also Azrael, I just saw at the Draft House. That's the new Samara Weaving, and woof.
Oh, I'm dying.
I just saw Oddity as well. Oddity was really super cool.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Oh man, it sure was. I just loved that film. Oh my God, it was really creepy. They did so much with just shadows and doorways, Mm-hmm. I have a question for you. Since you love research, as do I, do you have certain like Bibles that you use? Like, do you have certain like books that you always find yourself referring to? For instance, like for folk horror, or in a lot of my films, I have this book called the Encyclopedia of it's called Encyclopedia of it's like a pagan encyclopedia. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's like a woman's encyclopedia is what they call it, which is kind of neat because this woman's like so much comes from how patriarchy has changed things from pagan times, and this goes really deep, like the tiniest little things, like the name Mary, and so I refer to this all the time. Do you guys have certain books that you always go to?
Well, speaking of Heidi Honeycutt, I mean, I Spit on Your Celluloid is the new one, right? And that's something that being able to look through that and have access to a huge treasure trove of amazing films, and a lot of them are that we hadn't heard of before. So I think that we have such fun when I go through books and see a movie, even something like, reading like, Dance Macabre on Writing with Stephen King, like he mentions movies all the time. And I was like, I haven't seen that. Like, so like looking in my normal day-to-day reading life and finding nuggets is kind of part of the joy of it for me.
Yeah, that's good. Did you guys read House of Psychotic Women?
No, not yet.
But I learned a lot of cool films from that book. And it's a neat how she ties. It's, it has an autobiographical current through it, but in talking about her life, she acknowledges certain films that are really cool.
Isn't film great? Just endless amounts of delights await us in it.
My folk horror rec. I know you're going to get to the last question, Julia, because I feel it. We have a final question we ask all of our guests. It's coming, Toby. It's coming for you. But before that, I was just looking up on like Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched: A History of Folk Horror, which is a really great documentary. That's something that I definitely like fell into. I think I watched it when I had COVID and I was like, and I had to rewatch it again later because I was like, oh my God, this is like so overwhelming and beautiful. But it's a really nice, it's like 3 hours long plus overview of the genre and folk horror genre that I love. And yeah, I often think about and go back to, but I think basic mythology and all that kind of stuff too, is I go back to again and again, because I think Julia and I both were I was classically trained, and I have an MFA as well. And I studied in Russia. So I go back to like classic stuff and myths and like Aeschylus and that kind of stuff as well.
That is so, I love hearing you say that. And that is so, I mean, it's so neat. Often I'll refer when directing just from things that I learned in acting school, whether it was like in the studio, practically or theoretically in class. Like I love to referring to the ex machina or the device of a chorus. I'm always like, oh, this character sort of serves as the Greek chorus who comes along.
The chorus is the coven in a show. I was just performing this last month at the Latinx New Play Festival at the La Jolla Playhouse. So I got to play Yemaya, a god, and it was just funny going through the script. And one of the other actors in the show was like, y'all know this stuff. Like, y'all are nerds. I was like, yeah, like we've studied the gods like a long time, but coming in and already having that information and being like, oh yeah, this is this goddess and Lilith, the first woman and like all this kind of stuff. We had all these wonderful characters in the show and accessing the divine feminine. So I think partly just from, I don't have like a specific book to go back to for that, but just knowing that we've studied all of those things since childhood early, And
it's that our acting transforms and informs directing and filmmaking and podcasting, and like it really kind of goes everywhere into your life. So final question. How has George A. Romero made an impact on your life?
I would say I still have a lot of educating to do in terms of Romero and Romero's work. But I would say that there's a certain stillness. Like if I think of the first film, I guess, the Night of the Living Dead, there's a certain stillness to that film that if I could achieve that, and I don't know if we have, because I mean, we have a lot of music in our film. Sometimes music accentuates the silence and silence accentuates the music when it's there. But there's a certain stillness to that black and white film that I covet. That there's a quietness, particularly when like the actor, the character Ben, when he's talking and he's kind of just sitting down on the door when he's talking. I mean, there's a certain intimacy to that film and a cottony silence that I absolutely love when I look back. And any kind of film that captures that can capture the silence of a moment that is not, the emptiness is full. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like there's a fullness to the emptiness. And I think that movie has it, even like the sounds of the chewing. There's a quietness like outside when everyone's just kind of, they're doing their little sinewy walk through the dark, and the light is capturing the white, gowns and just the sound of the chewing. I think sometimes people don't talk about sound in films, but there's something about that film that I absolutely love, and it's the
most important thing. It's one of the most important things.
Sound.
If you can nail the soundscape, like it's everything. I was talking with Julia. We got to see her film at Comic-Con this last summer, and to hear it on the sound system they had in there, I was like, Julia, I can hear the little birds and the little, like there was little things that were like, I was like, your sound guy like went to town on the but like that makes the difference. It gives
Shout out to John
sets you
Shell,
there.
my sound
Yeah.
guy, because
Yeah.
there's scenes like they're in a dorm, but you can hear the other people in the dorm rooms around them and that kind of thing, right? Even if you're
Set them in
alone
place.
with the actors, you're getting that they're not alone. And horror film, especially, he actually just sent me a thing where he's sending for a film class where he's doing layers. They're sending the kids, here's the layer with just the dialogue, here's the layer with just the soundtrack, here's the layer with just the ambient sound, and like watching it differently and how much it makes a difference. I remember in film class, they made us watch the shower scene in Psycho with no sound, and you go, okay, this is just, it feels so, and you turn the sound on and you go, oh my God, it's a whole different world.
Wow.
All the senses.
Yeah, even in like a film like Martin,
Yeah.
there's a certain, like, that film to me is so eerie because it's kind of, there's an awkward silence that kind of coincides, in tandem with like Martin's kind of awkwardness. Anyway, so I guess I'm going to say sound. Can I say sound?
Okay. Yeah,
Or
we love
lack-
and we love
Yeah.
Martin. We got to talk to John Amplas on Horror Movie Survival Guide, and he still one of our favorite interviews. So tell us where we can find you online and where we can find your films online.
Sure. Well, our website is wonderwheelproductions.com, which has lots of information about all of our films. But mostly we're on Instagram, adams.family.films. And our band Hellbender, but the E's are sixes, is on Spotify and iTunes.
And I know Hellhole is on Shudder, and Deep Your Digs on Arrow. Where are some other places they could find?
Where the Double Rooms is on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also like the other things, like the
Mhm.
usual platforms, like Hellbender is also on Hellbender, Hellhole, and the Deep You Dig are all on Shudder.
Awesome.
And then probably Hellhole soon will be out on the usual platforms as well, like iTunes.
So Google
yeah.
it, check it out, kids, and figure out where they're at and get you these movies into your face. Watch the
Please.
shadows and light and hear the soundscapes and let them wash over you. And let's discuss. You can find Julia and I. Am I doing? Okay, hold on. Amazing. Yes. Thank you again, Toby. I want to say thank you to you specifically
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Like, this has been an honor and a mother freaking privilege. You're so cool. And just, you can listen to our podcast, Horror Movie Survival Guide, anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. And you can hear Julia and I take deep dives every week into a different horror film, and dissect how you can survive and become the final gal or final person or whoever you are, or final family. We love a final family.
Find family. You can also catch me in my other podcast, The Losers Club, which is all about Stephen King, and Jodorowsky, which is all about creator Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Thank you.
It's one of my favorites. Yes, thank you. And also, please check out the George A. Romero Foundation, which is dedicated to restoring Romero's work, including seldom seen pieces from early in his career, like the amusement park, as well as keeping an archive and helping the next generation of young filmmakers. Thank you to everyone who is watching, and please do feel free to reach out to Julia and myself. We love to interact with you.
And
Yeah,
we will see you next time on Horror X. Thank you for watching, and hoping your days and nights are fantastic oracle. Huzzah.
Okay. Huzzah! Thank you.